What if the most prestigious education money can buy isn't designed to cultivate wisdom, but to manufacture a ruling class so insulated by wealth and ideology that they mistake their own privilege for universal truth? In How to Rule the World, student journalist Theo Baker delivers a searing investigative memoir that transforms the campus exposé into a profound critique of elite reproduction, proving that in institutions built on meritocratic myth, the most dangerous curriculum is the one taught through silence, access, and unexamined entitlement. This isn't merely another tell-all about academic scandal. It's a psychologically precise narrative where every endowed chair feels like both honor and indictment. Consent to speak truth is negotiated through institutional betrayal rather than journalistic ambition, and accountability requires sacrificing the very credentials you were promised would make you untouchable. From the first hushed library narration, listeners are immersed in a world where excellence is performance and integrity is the first casualty of prestige. Perfect for fans of ethical nonfiction and stories where moral courage triumphs over institutional loyalty, this audiobook serves up relentless intellectual urgency, unflinching emotional honesty, and a protagonist whose journey from obedient insider to sovereign whistleblower resonates with anyone who's ever been told to trust the system over their own conscience. When undergraduate reporter Theo Baker begins investigating research fraud within Stanford's elite neuroscience lab, he expects academic misconduct, not to uncover a decades-long pattern of administrative complicity, donor influence, and cultural suppression that reveals how power protects itself at America's most revered university. But as Baker navigates legal threats and peer ostracization, he realizes this investigation isn't about exposing individuals. It's about confronting how his own education has been designed to produce compliance rather than critical thought. Baker masterfully avoids reducing himself to heroic narrator or Stanford to monolithic villain. Instead, he crafts a narrative where journalism becomes moral excavation, where consent is renegotiated through radical transparency rather than institutional permission, and where truth requires honoring the cost of speaking when silence is rewarded. The audiobook narration amplifies this emotional precision, capturing Baker's disciplined curiosity fracturing into fierce clarity, while secondary voices shift subtly between defensive loyalty and hidden dissent, making every interview feel like both testimony and test. You don't just hear the scandal unfold, you feel the seismic shift of a mind learning that some truths can only be spoken when you stop believing the institution deserves your protection. What elevates How to Rule the World beyond typical campus exposés is its nuanced portrayal of elite education as systemic reproduction rather than individual corruption. Baker isn't merely documenting fraud, he's confronting how his own class position blinded him to structural harm, challenging the notion that access equals understanding. His relationships evolve through acts of radical reciprocity, sharing silences with sources whose fear bypasses official channels, establishing trust through acknowledgement of shared complicity, and defending whistleblowers' right to doubt against cultures that mistake loyalty for virtue. Supporting figures add vital texture: professors whose brilliance masks ethical compromise, administrators whose pragmatism reflects institutional self-preservation, even the campus itself, rendered as living archive whose manicured quads absorb generations of unprocessed contradiction. Every interaction reinforces the book's core truth. In systems built on myth, attention is insurgency, and presence is the only true credential. Even the journalistic mechanics serve thematic depth, with source protection mirroring moral boundaries, and editorial battles becoming metaphors for earned autonomy. For audiobook listeners, this production is an immersive exercise in ethical recalibration. The narrator embodies Baker's evolving perspective with remarkable range, from academic detachment to trembling conviction during human moments, while supporting voices are distinguished through vocal textures that honor institutional hierarchy without caricature. Sound design enhances atmosphere without overwhelming immersion. Distant lecture hall echoes marking conceptual transitions. Rain against dorm windows during vulnerable reflections. The hushed rustle of documents syncing with breath during moments of synthesis. All anchor abstract stakes and sensory reality. Pacing mirrors the rhythm of investigative reckoning, deliberate during foundational research and reflection, then surging with urgency as external pressures collide with internal awakenings. Whether you're commuting through daily demands or sitting in twilight stillness, the audiobook creates a portable sanctuary where slowness feels sacred and truth feels lifeline. It's storytelling as embodied validation, transforming passive listening into active participation in a journey where understanding isn't about exposure, but about transformation. Ultimately, How to Rule the World redefines investigative memoir by centering moral epistemology within elite frameworks. It satisfies cravings for factual rigor and emotional payoff, while delivering substantive commentary on academic capitalism, class reproduction, and the radical act of trusting your conscience when institutions demand conformity. No prior knowledge of the Stanford scandal is needed. It stands confidently as a complete emotional odyssey. If you've ever wondered whether excellence can coexist with ethics, or if true strength requires risking what others protect, this audiobook will affirm that sometimes the most powerful education is learning to see through the myth. Press play, question the syllabus, and prepare to believe that even in landscapes shaped by prestige, minds still find ways to break free.
Your next essential read isn't waiting in ivy-covered halls. It's waiting in the brave, trembling choice to value truth over title.